Welcome to Newbie Sports, and what a weekend we had. The Ole Miss game just concluded. We just saw all the drama. Definitely the most competitive game of the playoffs so far. Georgia ends its 75-game winning streak when leading going into the fourth quarter. That's either Georgia or Kirby Smart. But that 75-game win streak when leading going into the fourth quarter is now over. Still a fairly competitive game going into halftime, 21-12. And then Ole Miss goes 32-10. 27-10. Oh my gosh. 27-10 in that last quarter. Just absolutely amazing effort from the Ole Miss Rebels and from the Georgia Bulldogs. Now they scored a field goal to tie it up with less than 2 minutes left to go as well. So we can't forget that. That was an incredibly competitive game, the most competitive game of the playoffs so far. I don't think anyone can deny that. But man, Trinidad Chambliss, national champion in Division II last year, comes in and might win it all this year. But it's got to get through Miami. It's got to get through Oregon and Indiana. So now we're going into the semifinals of the playoffs. And yeah, SEC has one team. The Big Ten has two teams. And now both of those Big Ten teams play against each other. So there's only going to be one Big Ten team in the championship game, no matter what happens. But is their opponent going to be an SEC team or an ACC team? Now, everyone was writing off Miami at the beginning of all of this. Okay, we'll get through this game and maybe they'll lose to Texas A&M. Okay, well they beat Texas A&M. But it wasn't really that impressive a game. And by the way, anyone who wants to say the Miami-Texas A&M game was a defensive showcase, no. That was a game of missed field goals and punts. That was a very boring, very nothing happened on either side of the ball game. If you want to see a defensive showcase, the Oregon-Texas Tech game today was a defensive showcase. Turnovers galore, just sacks, excellent defense the entire game from both teams, by the way. But Ole Miss just had enough in the tank to go offense. And very, very sad that the Texas Tech Red Raiders had the only scoreless playoff game this year. The only scoreless one. Alabama almost beat them. Alabama almost got there. But, man, we'll get to that. So, man, Trinidad Chambliss, coming back to him. Maybe he'll be another national championship, but in Division I this time, in NCAA Division I college football. Fantastic football from everyone involved in that Ole Miss Georgia game. First 13-win season in program history for Ole Miss, if I heard that right. Almost 500 yards of total offense. Man, goodness gracious. And let's break down the drama of that game before we move on to the other three that happened. And I'm just going to focus on the playoffs for this video. But Georgia kicks a field goal to tie it. And then there's less than 2 minutes left in the game. Ole Miss throws a rocket to get into field goal range. And there's some confusion over the next couple of plays about what they're going to do. Trinidad Chambliss throws it out of bounds just to take a couple seconds off the clock, and then their kicker, who got his career long tonight at 56 yards, kicks what ended up being the game-sealing, not really the game-sealing field goal, but another field goal to put them up by 3. And, wow. And then that kickoff, why would you return that kickoff? You got 6 seconds left. You're taking it in the middle of the end zone. Let that ball go, take it to the 25, and maybe you'll be able to get 2 plays off. Maybe you'll be able to get 3. You got 2 timeouts left. Maybe you'll be able to get 3 plays off, and maybe you'll be able to get around midfield. If you just take it out of the back of the end zone, why would you return that? And then the laterals, gave him a safety. And then I'd never seen this before either. They did an onside kick formation in the punt of the safety, and then apparently it works just like a kickoff. If it goes 10 yards, you can cover the ball. And because the Georgia guy dove right on the ball after it went 10 yards, why wouldn't one of the Ole Miss people just tap it? Just tap the ball. Or at least just jump on it. There's plenty of Ole Miss guys around the ball too. Try to jump on the ball to get the last second off the clock. But yeah, drama with they're running on the field. Then they got the stage out, and then when they kicked the ball for the safety, there's still 1 second left. And then they had to review it, and they had to take the stage back off. And then they did punt in an onside kick formation, and the Georgia guy jumped on it, and they bring the stage back out, and they're like, hang on a minute. The 1 second still remains on the clock because no time came off. The clock doesn't go down when you kick the ball. The clock goes down when you start to advance the ball. If you jump right on it, you're down immediately. There's no time that comes off the clock. And then those laterals, and then an illegal forward pass, unfortunately. So even if Georgia was able to recover that and then go and get a touchdown, it would have been coming back. But then they run on the field immediately before the refs could give the call. And I'm just like, hang on. If that was a face mask, it's a defensive penalty, and they get one more shot. You're going to have to come off the field again. Who are you, the University of Utah? Anyways, but so much drama, so much talent. I think this game is going to be, it's going to be really difficult to beat this game going forward the rest of the year. So much drama, so much talent on both sides of the field. Everyone should be very proud of that performance. Except for Kirby Smart. I know I said we're moving on from this game, but I got one more thought on this game. Why on earth would you not punt that ball on 4th down when you're on your side of the field? That lost you the game, Kirby. You were going to punt it, and then you took your punt off, and you sent your offense on. Maybe you were trying to have them jump off, and that's why the left side of the line wasn't ready or something. Why would you even risk it? Punt that ball. Punt that ball. You made a similar mistake against Alabama, which gave you your only loss in the regular season. You didn't kick the field goal. You went for it on 4th down. And then you lost by 3, the amount of points that the field goal would have given you to tie it and take it into overtime. Too much risk right there. Anyways, fantastic game. Moving on from that. Going to yesterday. Miami coming in to that game and sticking it to Ohio State. I gotta say, I find a great deal of satisfaction in that. I find incredible satisfaction in specifically Ohio State. I might have said Ole Miss. If I did, feel free to roast me in the comments. But sticking it to Ohio State to win that game and demonstrate the ACC still has a place in college football. And forbidding there to be any more than one Big Ten team in the championship game, and forbidding a possible rematch between Indiana and Ohio State. Good job for the Hurricanes. I think you've definitely demonstrated that you're one of the top 12 teams in the nation. I still think BYU should have gone in instead of Miami, but you got the opportunity to go, and you're capitalizing on it exceedingly well. You beat Texas A&M, and you humiliated Texas A&M. And now you've done something similar to Ohio State. Good job, Miami. I don't have much more to say on that. I wasn't, yeah. Good job, Miami. I kind of wanted Ohio State to win just because I wanted to demonstrate that BYU definitely should have been in. But I think with how this round of football went, that we're going to have possibly the most competitive semifinals and finals we've had at least since 12-team started, but possibly in the last 5 years. The most competitive next couple of games in the playoffs. So we've talked about Georgia and Ole Miss. We've talked about Miami and Ohio State. Now we got to talk about Oregon, Texas Tech. Now I picked Texas Tech to win, and I thought that it was going to be pretty close, but I thought Texas Tech was going to win. Not only did they lose, they didn't score a single point. Oregon showed up to this game. And the defense for Texas Tech didn't not show up, but they just weren't able to hold off the Oregon Ducks. Fantastic team, Oregon Ducks. I can't remember the quarterback's name, so feel free to roast me in the comments section. But Bear Morton, now you know how Bear felt in the conference championship game. Turnovers galore. So many turnovers. Really, the Big 12 had so many opportunities this season, and we're doing really well in bowl season. Good job, BYU. Good job, everyone except Arizona State. We got 2 more bowl games left. We'll see how we do, and we'll get to that later. But man, you didn't need to win, Texas Tech, but you got to put some points up. Texas A&M even put some points up. Alabama put some points up. Really disappointing, ultimately, for the playoffs in the Big 12. Good job, Oregon. And then Indiana, just sticking it to Alabama the entire game, demonstrating why, I forget the quarterback's name again. Heisman winner. Mendoza. Demonstrating why you won the Heisman. Absolutely stuck it to Alabama. I think this game against Alabama fairly definitively shows that Oklahoma and Alabama are not in the top 12 teams in this nation. Both of them deserve to be in the playoffs because both of them earned it according to the rules that we have set forth. But neither of these teams are the best 12 teams in the nation. Oklahoma, maybe not even the top 15. And then Alabama, definitely not the top 15, even though they beat they beat Oklahoma this time. But Oklahoma beat them last time, so they kind of split. But, yeah, Alabama, Oklahoma, you deserved to be in the playoffs. You're not in the top 12 best teams in this country. Sorry. Not sorry. And I'm also not sorry that we, once again, only have one SEC team going into the semifinals. I love that, actually. I really do. I think Georgia and Ole Miss had a fantastic game, and I'm like, oh, I don't even care who wins this game. But one SEC team in the semifinals. You got 5 teams in this year. And SEC teams eliminated 2 of those, and then the third eliminated team today. I'm losing my math. There's something wrong in my math, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, just let's get on to the semifinals. Never mind. We got one more thought. One team that had a bye won today, and it was Indiana, and they stomped Alabama. We got to get rid of this first round bye. I don't understand how it works in the NFL that it's beneficial to them, but it has been beneficial in the NFL. It has demonstrated that it is not beneficial in college football. 1 out of 8 teams the last 2 years that have been given a bye won their game. Got to get rid of that. Got to get rid of the first round bye. Let's get to 16 teams, and let's stay at 16 teams. I'm going to wrap up with my predictions. Oregon versus Indiana. I have a really difficult time picking anyone other than Indiana to win this game. I think Indiana's going to win this game. I'm not going to give a score prediction here because I don't have stats in front of me, and I didn't make any notes on that prediction. But I am going to pick Indiana to win that game. I'm not going to be disappointed if Oregon wins that game. The only team remaining that I definitely don't want to win is probably Ole Miss, but that's just because they're the SEC. I actually really liked that performance, so I might change my tune once we get to the championship game. But I think the last 3 playoff games are going to be the most competitive we've seen in years, including this Indiana-Oregon game. And I think Oregon is going to just barely not win, and Indiana's going to come out on top in a very tight game. Going on to Miami and Ole Miss. You know, I think Miami's going to do it. I picked Ohio State to take it to Ole Miss, but I've been wrong. And Miami was ranked as high as number 2 in the nation this year. So I think the national championship game is going to be Indiana and Miami. And I do think Indiana pulls off the Cinderella story win, and then demonstrating definitively that they're the best team in college football. Undefeated season, beating Miami in the national championship game. And Miami demonstrating that they absolutely belonged in this playoffs. I still think BYU should have been in instead of them, but they are one of the 12 best teams in this league. Clearly. I do think Miami beats Ole Miss. I do think Indiana beats Oregon, and I think Indiana is going to beat Ole Miss in the national championship game. Those are my new predictions. What do you guys think? Leave your predictions in the comments section. If you have a problem with any of my takes, feel free to let me know. What am I missing? I want to learn. Part of me making this channel was so that I can learn about college football and I can enjoy it more. What a weekend we've had. And what a wonderful new year we've been able to kick off. This has been Newbie Sports.